Hello, welcome to the Ask a Christian podcast. I'm your host, Nate. All right, anything happened over the weekend? Yes, it did. We have a couple stories. So we have this Jim, this peach of a person, who tried to shoot up a bunch of people at the White House Correspondents Dinner while both hating Christians and, I guess, claiming to be a Christian. So we're going to see what the Bible has to say about what he thinks. Also, we have in Northern Ireland a street preacher is apparently criminally charged for preaching a sermon too close to a hospital. So now it's not preaching anti-abortion. So now it's not preaching anti-abortion stuff outside a abortion clinic. Now it is preaching outside a hospital that happens to perform abortions, and it's not even anything that has to do with babies or I knew you before, you were in the womb, I knew you, murder, nothing to do with that. Now it's quoting John 3:16. So this guy, it's like a 76-year-old former, he's retired now. He's like a pastor in Northern Ireland. He's been criminally charged, probably go to jail for quoting John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And because that is so offensive outside a hospital that sometimes, I guess, performs abortions, he's in trouble for that.
Christian persecution isn't real.
Well, that's the lighter side of things. Then look at all the, thousands massacred for their faith and martyred. But I guess that's not happening. So, including the psycho over the weekend. So we've got some fun stuff to talk about. Also, real fast. Let's see. Do I want to plead for you to like, share, and subscribe before I force you to gouge out your eyes? No, I'm going to do the eyes one first. Okay. Check out this picture. What a disrespect and slap in the face of natural, real women everywhere who are mothers. You can put on all the foundation you want and you'll never be a woman. Disgusting creature, says this post. Gay influencer Josh Hughes mocks childbirth as he poses in hospital bed while picking up his third surrogate child. The influencer posed in a hospital bed while pretending to give birth while picking up his new baby boy from the mother. This should be illegal. That's what the post says, and that's also what I'm saying. So, look at that. Okay, so now, before you gouge your eyes out, don't do that. Don't do that. But, before I'm going to acid watch my eyes, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, and I promise I won't do that again for a while. So, great. Like, share, subscribe wherever you're listening. Comment. I'll make sure Chris gets all the hate mail. Okay. Hey, guys, what's up? I'll get to you in just a second. I'm trying to read through some of this. All right. So, we've got 3 different sources. Each one says a different thing. We're going to read this psychotic breakdown of his manifesto in a little bit and compare that with the Christian he says he is. So, let's see. Trump assassination attempt. Shooter sent chilling manifesto to family 10 minutes before opening fire. You know what? They just brought back the death, lethal execution by firing squad, right? They just brought that back. It was announced Friday that they had reinstated firing squad for federal death penalty crimes. I don't love the idea of the death penalty because, someone is innocent and, I'd rather 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man is condemned. But regardless, it's not my rules. I didn't make these rules. So wouldn't it be interesting if they just announced, hey guys, we're bringing back firing squads. Oh, this guy committed absolute treason trying to murder members of the sitting president and his administration. That seems like a great candidate. Maybe put some TV cameras in front of that and that would be a good deterrent. Again, not my beliefs, not my rules, not my laws, but the country who just, I guess, reinstated this policy now has a great candidate for it. What better candidate than actual treason? Okay. A gunman opened fire. If your heads are under a rock, by the way, someone shot up the White House Correspondents Dinner. That's what we're talking about. So if you've consumed no media until right now, this guy, he is a 31-year-old Alan Cole, or Cole Allen, did they say it first or not? Anyways, whatever his name is. The guy sucks. He stormed the Washington Hilton as the annual White House Correspondents Dinner was underway, rushing past security. If you saw the video, this guy bolts. He takes off running. And everyone's, posting, what a jerk, this guy's bad, da-da-da. My question is, why is he naked? Did they just, strip him right there? No one answered that. That was my question. Like, why is the guy naked? Anyways, so, okay, I think, yeah, and then they raided his house in L.A., so he took a train from California to Chicago to Washington. Oh, this is the one. It's just the image. This is the one Trump released it. It's like the guy takes off running through security, and I guess that's where like the shots were fired and exchanged and all that stuff. Anyway, oh, and then we saw Wolf Blitzer. Remember that? Wolf Blitzer from CNN. Like, while the manifesto's coming out, and he's like, I hate Trump, blah, 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 I'm going to kill all of his administration. Wolf Blitzer is on the internet. He's like, well, I thought he was there to kill me. I thought he was going to kill me. I'm a journalist. I thought he was there. No, Wolf Blitzer, no one cares about you. No one is there to do anything to CNN or Wolf Blitzer. Like, no one cares about you, bro. Stop making about you. He's like, well, he could have been there to kill me. Meanwhile, other news outlets are like, yeah, here's his manifesto. He says he's specifically there to kill members of the Trump administration. So, no CNN, no Wolf Blitzer, you are not that special. Okay, so, let's see. The White House Correspondents Dinner assassin, a chilling manifesto of hatred and hatred of Trump admin and Christians. This is interesting because the manifesto, he says he is a Christian. He says other people identify him as a Christian. So, is he the wrong kind of Christian? Are we the wrong kind of Christian? Well, let's just see what the Bible says and, let the chips fall where they may. So, Todd Blanche reveals that it came from Chicago to D.C. Yep, he came from L.A. to Chicago and then to D.C. So, yeah, he was like checked in. He had the money on that nice teacher's union salary because he was Teacher of the Year, by the way. Did anyone know that? He, which shows the infection in our education system. He was a teacher. He what is he, like computer science at Caltech, and he's a teacher somewhere. And he got Employee of the Month, Teacher of the Month. So this is our Teacher of the Month, guys. This is the hero of the left wing. I'm sure they're going to have like a teachers union honors ceremony, and probably Randy Weingarten is going to be up there giving him a medal because they love this stuff. This is their ideology. We have been lost. Chris, be ready to talk minutes from now. This is where the battle is. It's infecting the minds of the young. It's taking over academia for this Marxist left-wing ideology. And it's not just talking points. His manifesto is going to say it. He talks about the oppressor-oppressed narrative. So it's like, I'm a Christian, oppressor-oppressed. You're a Marxist. That's where that comes from. So anyway, okay. Trump is the Antichrist in his mind. Okay, well, if Trump is the Antichrist and he is some sort of Christian, you know that you're not going to be able to stop the Antichrist. It's only in God's power and God's timing. God's got everything worked out. So what are you trying to do, bro? You trying to thwart the will of God? I doubt his theology is that deep, though. So let's see. The dehumanizers are at the core of this problem. Attorney General Todd Blanche gave the chilling details. The White House Correspondents shooter traveled across country from L.A. to Chicago to D.C., like I said. Checked the exact same hotel. Checked into the hotel the day earlier. When you treat political opponents as enemies who must be destroyed, you don't get to debate. You get assassination attempts. Yes. This is like calling everyone like racist and Nazis. Like, if someone's a Nazi, is it okay to kill Nazis? Well, normal people would say, no, you take them to Nuremberg and have trial and, let justice be done. You don't become a vigilante because then you need to be on trial as well. Anyway, but no one's Nazis. No one's Nazis. So even if they were, that's not how you act, but no one is. All right. And then you've got... Let's see. Didn't you call for foot soldiers to rise up just 5 days ago? Hakeem Jeffries. Do you remember when CEO said, I think Hakeem Jeffries is a very good, rational Democrat? And me and Chris both spit out our drink over that. You remember that day? He's like, I think he's good. We're like, what? Like, what? The guy looks like a demon with his little eyebrows like, rise up. We're going to show DeSantis if he redistricts. Like, anyway, did I just call him a demon? He's not an actual demon. Maybe possessed by one, but he's not a demon, so, whatever. Okay. See, fair to both sides. All right, let's check this out. So we're going to read the manifesto real fast, and then I'll bring some other people up here. Read the White House Correspondents Dinner gunman Cole Allen's full anti-Trump manifesto. Let's see what this Jim has to say. All right. So yeah, while he's about ready to go do this, he sends this manifesto out to his family, and they, I guess, immediately report it. And then his sister's like, "Yeah, he bought a bunch of guns and like kept them at his parents' house without them knowing." And so the guy is full of deception and lies, and not exactly fruits you would expect a Christian to have. Only God knows his heart. But let's see what we can deduce from any tangible fruits we see. The 1052 word missive. Oh, is it going to show? Yeah, he was part of some like woke group too. It was like the Awake Ones or the Awake Resistance. I don't know if it's this article that says it, but yeah, so he's part of basically a woke militia group that did like gun training and all this other stuff. So, okay. Signed Cole, Cold Force, Friendly Federal Assassin. You've got cute little call signs and code names, you loser. Outline his rules for engagement. Gosh, this guy's... Just go to a furry convention and just call it a day. Just be trans or something. That's easy. Well, you'd probably do the same thing. Okay. Let's see. Hello, everybody. I wish I had a voice for this. Hello, everybody. So, I may have given a lot of people a surprise today. If we would have known everything we know already in your manifesto, we would not have been surprised. Okay, so I may have given everyone a lot of surprise today. Let me start off by apologizing to everyone whose trust I have used. You mean through lies and deception like the devil? Okay. I apologize to my parents for raising me. I'm going to stop. I apologize to my parents for saying I had an interview without specifying it was for Most Wanted. So you apologize for lying. I apologize to my colleagues and students for saying I had a personal emergency. By the time anyone reads this, I probably, most certainly do need to go to the ER, but can hardly call that not a self-inflicted status. I apologize to all the people I traveled next to, all the workers who handled my luggage, and all the other non-targeted people at the hotel who I put in danger simply by being near. So why would you do that? Because you have a mission you have to carry out? Who's the mission through? I apologize to everyone who was abused and or murdered before this, to all those who suffered before I was able to attempt this, to all those who still may suffer after, regardless of my success or failure. Look at that. I'm not even sharing my screen to you people. There you go. Sorry, people. See? Put me in your payroll. I'll do better. Look at that smug POS. Just, nah. Whatever. There he is. Okay. I don't expect forgiveness. A Christian would ask for forgiveness. Are you not a Christian? He says he is. I don't expect forgiveness, but if I could be seen in any other way to get close to this, I would have taken it. Again, my sincere apologies. But you're apologizing beforehand, so I doubt the sincerity of your apologies. On why I did any of this. You're possessed by the devil. There I go again. My bad. Maybe he's just lost his way. Why I did any of this. I am a citizen of the United States. Okay, that doesn't explain anything. What my representatives do reflects on me. Okay, look at him in his stupid little cap there. Oh, isn't that cute? Look at that guy. Isn't he so cute? Okay, here we go. Fact from fiction. I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with crimes. This is obviously Trump. So he didn't have a problem with President Biden sniffing kids, being really touchy-feely with kids, being accused by his daughter of doing bad, inappropriate, probably illegal things in the shower with her when she was, 9 years old? That didn't rise to the bar of anything bad. He was fine with that, so maybe that's not your reason after all. Trump, on the other hand, there is no actionable intelligence or evidence anywhere. So, do you have secret knowledge of this? And a rapist, E. Jean Carroll, who got cut off from CNN for saying, I think rape is sexy, Anderson. You're like a silver fox, Anderson. I think rape is sexy. And he's like, what? Rape is awful. She's like, no, women have fantasized about being raped. And they're like, we have to go to break. So, that's the accuser of Trump, who thinks rape is hot. So that's the only thing he would know from this. There's been no actionable intelligence. He was not found guilty of rape. Remember that. He was found guilty of saying, no, I didn't rape her. And they're like, you're lying. You're defaming her. $90 million. That's what he was found guilty of. Saying he didn't do a crime. which he's supposed to be presumed innocent of anyway until proven guilty. He was never found guilty. So they said, you said Trump raped you 20-something years ago in a closet in a changing room stall in a store that you can't remember, an address that wasn't invented yet until later, and you don't have any details. And Trump says, no, he didn't. Trump, you defamed her, $90 million. Anyway, that's what that was about. So, not a pedophile, not a rapist by any evidence anyone's seen, and absolutely not a traitor. Like, out of government, he is, like, on the far side of not a traitor. And depending on what you mean, like, his policy, his this. You have a constitution, you have an oath to take to uphold and execute the duties of the Constitution. By the letter of the laws, he has stayed in the bounds of this. Not a traitor. It doesn't matter what you think he's doing is right or wrong or good or bad. He has stayed inside the laws of his constitutional oath and duties, so he is not a traitor. Again, unless he's giving away nuclear secrets or doing something like that to a foreign government behind the scenes. But, I mean, of course he's not. No one knows. No one has any evidence of that. So, not a traitor. Great, let's move on. So, I will no longer coat my hands with his crimes. So, you've named 3 fictitious crimes, and none of it's true. So your hands are not coated, except with stupidity. Well, let me be completely honest. I was no longer willing a long time ago, but this is the first real opportunity I had to do something about it. Well, you still didn't do anything about it. You just ruined your life. But you're no longer a teacher, so that's good. Like, that's a net positive. You're no longer indoctrinating and infecting your poison crap in the minds of our youth. So, thank you for doing that public service for us. While I'm discussing this, I'll also go over my expected rules of engagement. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. Well, I guess he's not a Sith. These are what I hope for, but as long as the mission is accomplished, the ends justify the means justify the end. The ends justify the means. So, I expect these to be my rules of engagement, but if a bunch of innocent babies get killed, oh well, it's fine. I imagine his thinking goes. So, I'll go over my expected rules of engagement, probably in a terrible format, but I'm not military, so too bad. You're just in a loser militia. Okay. Administration officials, not including Mr. Patel, so I guess he's cool with cash? Okay. They are targets, prioritized from the highest ranking to the lowest. Secret Service, they are targets only if necessary, and to be incapacitated non-lethally if possible, a.k.a. I hope they're wearing body armor, because center mass with shotguns messes people up who aren't. How are you going to incapacitate them? You have like a rifle and a shotgun. There's no less than lethal force there. Unless you're incapacitated, is shooting them if they don't have body armor, or if they have body armor. Okay. Hotel security, not targets, if at all possible, unless they shoot at me. Okay. So basically, everyone is a target. These are all incredibly circumstantial. So he hopes for the best, but is absolutely committed to doing the worst. So, Capitol Police, same as hotel security. So a bunch of people who have a sworn oath and duty, the Secret Service, to protect all the people you're trying to murder. The security people at the hotel who have at least a job description of providing protection and safety to the hotel guests and staff, which are among the Trump admin, the correspondents, everyone else. What do you think they're going to do? I mean, the hotel security may peace out, but the people who have sworn oaths on their lives to protect these people, it's like, if they shoot at me, they're absolutely going to shoot at you, loser. Okay, so, guests, not targets at all. Wonderful. You've said one thing in here that is kind of sort of not completely awful. So you're not going to target guests. But if they get shot in the shrapnel, oh well. I imagine. In order to minimize casualties, I will also be using buckshot rather than slugs, less penetration through walls. But I'm not military, I don't know this. On one hand, look, yeah, maybe a slug has more penetrating power. On the other hand, if you're using buckshot, what if you clip a guy in the arm? Where's the other 8 pellets going to go? Off to the side to hit someone else? Okay. So, in an effort to minimize casualties, I will be doing the thing to maximize casualties. I would go through, I would still go through most everyone here to get to my targets if it were absolutely necessary, on the basis that most people chose to attend a speech by a pedophile, wrong, rapist, wrong, and traitor, wrong. These people are on your side. The liberal media hate Trump. They're not there because they like him. They're ready. Like Jim Acosta, he was like trying to plan a walkout. He was trying to use this to make it all about him. Whenever Trump like went hard roasting them, he was trying to get his people to like walk out. They were on your side, you dummy. Anyway, so all those people who chose to attend a speech by a pedophile, rapist, traitor, well, none of those are on the dais, so okay, and thus are complicit, but I really hope it doesn't come to that. Again, I don't want to hurt anyone, but I'll absolutely kill them all if it comes to that. Okay, rebuttals to objection. Does this remind you of people in Clubhouse? Maybe you should take it a little easier on your anti-Arminian stance, Chris. Okay, rebuttals to objections. Objection 1. As a Christian, you should turn the other cheek. We've talked about that many times. Go to askachristianpodcast.com, look at the search bar, type in turn the other cheek. You can watch all of our videos. Rebuttal. Turning the other cheek is for when you yourself are oppressed. I'm not the person raped in a detention camp. I'm not the fisherman executed without trial. He's talking about the drug smugglers getting blown out of the water who are not fishermen. That's who he's talking about. Some more crazy stuff. The guy is deranged. I'm not a school kid blown up, or a child starved, or a teenager girl abused by the many criminals in this administration. What teenage girls are abused? What? The ones you hear from like Joy Reid on MSNBC that has no backing up and has to get sued by billions of dollars or print retractions? The BBC who edits things and is a $10 billion defamation lawsuit rightfully so with Trump? Where are you getting your source? Okay. Turning the other cheek when someone else is oppressed is not a Christian behavior. It is complicity in the oppressor's crimes. Okay. So you say well, I guess right now people have identified you as Christian, but then you go oppressor narrative. So oppressed is not a Christian behavior. It is complicity in the oppressor's crimes. Okay. Are you talking about Jesus, or that you're Marx as your Messiah? Okay. Oh, look at him there. Oh, isn't that so humiliating, you giant piece of crap? Oh, I'm naked on the floor. I still don't know why he's naked. I have no idea why this guy's naked. Objection 2. This is not a convenient time for you to do this. Rebuttal. I need whoever thinks this way to take a couple minutes and realize that the world isn't about them. Do you think that when I see someone raped or murdered or abused, how many people have you seen raped or murdered or abused? How many? I should walk away. I should walk on by because it would be inconvenient for people who aren't the victim. This was the best timing and chance of success I could come up with. Taking a train across the country? Okay. I mean, I guess, it's good that you're not capable. Objection 3. You didn't get them all. You didn't get anyone, except a Secret Service guy who survived because he had body armor. Rebuttal. Gotta start somewhere. Objection 4. As a half-black, half-white person, you should be the one doing this. Rebuttal. I don't see anyone else picking up the slack. I'm just going to leave that where he is. I mean, clearly, the guy hates a lot of things, but then he has self-justified so much love in his heart, misguided as it may be. So I guess the rebuttal is, you're going to get a lot of flack for they're going to say you're a black guy doing bad stuff. I guess that's the objection. Well, maybe his, black half should just argue with his white half. Maybe. And he'd just argue himself into oblivion. I don't really understand that one. I think that's where they're coming from. Objection 5. Yield unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Rebuttal. The United States of America are ruled by the law, not by any one or several people. Insofar as representatives and judges do not follow the law, no one is required to yield them anything so unlawfully ordered. I want to get to you guys at some point. That's just trash. Like, take a civics class. You have the judicial, executive, and legislative branch. Trump is acting in his executive authority, constantly being overturned by people in the judicial branch who should not have the authority to do this, and he still plays by their laws. The guy is conceding so much unnecessary territory that I really wish he wouldn't. He should just be like, nah, this is my lawful authority. I'm using this as the executive branch. Deal with it. And just not worry about what anyone else has to say. because so many people are going outside of their authority to try to curtail him, and he lets them, and it drives me crazy. It is so much ground he is unnecessarily conceding to try to have peace, and it's clearly not working. He says, I would like to extend my appreciation to a great many people, since I will not be likely able to talk with them again unless the Secret Service is astoundingly incompetent, meaning he accepts to be like suicided by cop. Like, that's what he's expecting, and, you know, they were able to, I guess, somehow just tackle him, and he became naked in the process. So, I don't understand that still. Thank you to my family, both personal and church. Can someone please Google what church this guy went to? It's like Jeremiah writes of the West Coast Church. Like, I wonder what church he went to. For your love over these 31 years. Maybe they should have loved you a little more. Thank you to my friends for your companionship over many years of indoctrination. Thank you to my colleagues over many jobs for your positivity and professionalism. Thank you to my students. May God have mercy on your students. What crazy crap did you put in their brains? Thank you to my students for your enthusiasm of love and learning and hate. Thank you to the many acquaintances I've met in person and online, forming your militia. Okay. Where was I? For short interactions and long-term relationships, for your perspective and inspiration. Thank you all for everything. It wasn't enough, people. Sincerely, Cold Force, Friendly Federal Assassin, Allen. If 2 call names, what a loser. P.S. I forgot. Okay, now that all the sappy stuff is done, what the hell is Secret Service doing? Sorry, gonna rant for a bit here and drop the formal tone. Like I expected security cameras to be at every bend. Bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors out the wazoo. What I got, who knows? Maybe they're pranking me. Is nothing. No security. Not in transport, not in the hotel, not in the event. Like, the one thing that I immediately noticed walking into the hotel is a sense of arrogance. I walk in with multiple weapons, and not a single person there considers that possibility, that there could be a threat. Wait, you're half black. Doesn't the racist Trump administration target black people? Even though there's all kinds of, like, black people in the administration and the security and all that? So, wait, like, Trump's racist, right? That's one of the reasons you want to kill him and his administration. You said it multiple times. He's a racist. Don't you think Trump's, like, pre-vetting security people they're setting up? They're racist. They would target every black person, every minority, right? You're half black. You would at least be half targeted, unless they're not racist, you jerk. Anyway, so, he walks in, a half black man, with multiple weapons, and not a single person there considers the possibility that I could be a threat. But you're black. You have to be a threat. Or they're not racist. The security at the event is all outside, focused on protesters and current arrivals, because apparently no one thought about what happens if someone checks in the day before, looking and acting like a normal person, being very black, not being suspected of anything, because they're not racist. Like, this level of incompetence, or lack of racism, is insane, and I very sincerely hope it's corrected by the time this country actually gets a competent leadership again. Do you want a racist leadership? Is that how you equivalent competence? Maybe I should see if this guy can be a pen pal in jail and let him know the error of his ways. Like, if I was an Iranian agent instead of an American citizen, I could have brought a Ma-Deuce in here. Is that a tank? Is that a tank, Sean? Anyway, brought a Ma-Deuce in here, and no one would have noticed. And he continues to curse and swear. Also, not becoming Christian behavior. So I wonder, you know, what kind of Christian is he? One that isn't a Christian, doesn't follow Jesus, follows Marx instead, and cusses all the time? Actually insane. Oh, we're almost done. And if anyone is curious, is how doing something like this feels like, it's awful. I want to throw up. I want to cry. Of course you want to cry. For all the things I wanted to do and never will. For all the people whose trust this betrays. You mean who you've lied and deceived? And your parents would have gone to jail, right? You bought guns who were not in their name and you stored it in their house without them knowing. They could have been, like, if anyone would have caught them, they'd be like, why do you have a bunch of unregistered guns to you in your house? What's going on? Are you plotting something? So, sorry, Mom. I could have got you thrown in federal prison for years. My bad. I betrayed your trust. What a piece of... You know what? In the Bible, when people are like, oh, it says if your son is bad, you need to take him to the gate and stone him. We're like, no, we don't mean little Billy. We don't mean little 5-year-old that didn't eat his broccoli and hummus. We mean an adult child who is bringing shame and ruin on the name of his family. This guy... I'm not saying this would meet those biblical lines, but this is a lot closer to it. An adult that's like possibly ruining his family can get them, has ruined them now. Like, what do you think? Do you think they're going to get love letters from people from his parents? No, they're going to be harassed, his sisters, brothers, all of them. So he also could have got them criminally charged for storing a bunch of guns in their house without them having any clue. So this is a lot more kind of like the adult delinquent we're talking about from the Bible, from that passage. Okay, so he wants to cry, sorry for all the stuff he can't ever do, for all the people he's lied to. I experience rage thinking about everything this administration has done. He wanted to say to me. And it's all done this to me. No one's did anything to you, including not harassing you whenever you walked in, because no one's racist. Okay. Can't really recommend it. Stay in school, kids. Not wherever he taught. Don't stay in that school. Run to homeschool. Note. Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. Note. A Ma Deuce's a Browning M2 50 caliber. Wait. That's the kind you strap to helicopters, right? Okay. Yeah, tripod mounted. Okay. All right, who's still with me? Holy crap, 30 minutes. All right, so that's what we got today. If you guys want to talk about that, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to get to more Christian persecution that is not happening in Ireland. But yeah, let's give you guys a chance to say something. Good morning. Happy Monday. How are you guys all doing? What's up, Christopher?
Man, that was a long one even for you, buddy.
Oh, there's a lot of content.
So, yeah, we actually know all about what church he went to and all the stuff and the college group that he was in. He was actually in a UNRC church.
I don't know what that is.
United National Reformed Churches, some of which lean a little bit to the left, and then, from what I understand, and then he was actually in a campus group, which is an explicitly Marxist campus, quote-unquote, Christian group. So,
do you remember the name of... Was that the militia or is that something else? It was like the awake something. It was like a play on the woke, but they didn't want to call it woke.
No, I don't remember.
It's like the awake something.
I'd have to go back and read the stuff. I wasn't paying that close attention to it. I was like, well, the main thing that I took away is that the guy is not mentally ill. That's the main thing.
Indoctrinated, yes. Mentally ill, no.
Correct.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying is like,
yeah.
That's the big deal is like, this was not just some unstable weirdo that, decided to do something crazy. This was somebody whom knew exactly what he was doing and, laid the whole thing out. So,
yeah, even right before he went in, or what, like before he checked into the hotel, like he still had the presence of mind while he's there continuing to premeditate. He's like, by the way, everyone's racist, which is 1/3 of the reason why he's doing that, right? Pedophilia, rape, and racism, right? Those are like the three reasons, and they're all false. But I mean, even that one should have given him thoughts like, wait, me as a half black man, people are gonna know I'm kind of dark skinned, right? That's one of the reasons. That's 1/3 the reason my manifesto says I'm gonna go kill a bunch of people. Why isn't anyone stopping me? It must be because they're incompetent. It's like, it's because they're not racist, you dummy. Anyway, that's all you got, Chris? That's all you got?
I just don't care about this like you in a little bit.
All right. Do you care about Christian persecution in Ireland?
Sure.
Ireland. Oh, Mike wants to say something. Hello, Michael. Good day.
Hey. I think one of the funny things that I saw about this, first, I'm glad nobody was seriously hurt, and I hope that the agent recovers quickly. I think one of the things that made me just kind of shake my head the most. And again, I mean, you know how much of a fan I am of Trump and his administration. But I think the thing that I found the weirdest was people saying that it was staged.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason I personally don't believe, I mean, could it have been? Yes, we have to accept it as a possibility. Do I believe that it was? Not even a little bit. The reason I, pardon me, the reason I say that is because it makes absolutely zero sense for someone on an opposing side to have been, like recruited, something like that. And I mean, I'm also glad that this person, the perpetrator didn't get killed by law enforcement. And I think the biggest reason I'm happy he didn't get killed is because I think it's better that he faced the punishment that he deserves. Could he be? I mean, you can be unstable and still not be, have a serious mental health condition. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. But I do believe that this person is fairly unstable. But I don't think, just from what we know, which is not a whole hell of a lot so far, I don't think that this person meets any kind of requirement to be NCR. Sorry, not criminally responsible is the term we use in Canada. I mean, this guy should be, put on, I mean, you can say the whole innocent until proven guilty thing, but I don't know how that even stands. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
He's basically confessing.
And there's just, I mean, he just did it. There's no reasonable defense. Other than, like, if somebody tried to say, not guilty because of, criminal insanity or something like that. But you can't be found, I don't think, at least. I'm pretty sure in Canada, you can't be found like not criminally responsible if something's premeditated, because that precludes the ability to, like, oh, it's just no, you planned it, right? That kind of precludes the idea of being not criminally responsible. I think the dude should just be, put away. Just lock him up.
Yeah, or, the new thing they just talked about Friday, bringing back firing squads. Again, you and I don't like the idea of that, but, not your country, not your rules, not my rules, not my state, not my District of Columbia, not my federal crimes. So, we have our own things, and then we have what the federal government will do. But I think it's interesting from the fake conspiracy people, not the conspiracy fact people, that are like, it was all a false flag, and then the reasoning is to help Trump get his ballroom. It's like, wait, they already said he could continue building the ballroom. That was like you're slow, people, catch up. Like 3 weeks ago, the judge is like, you can't do your ballroom, and then another judge overturned it, and they're like, yeah, you could go ahead and continue construction. So like, he's already continuing construction. Like, they're doing this false flag to make it dangerous and unsafe, so they have to grant him approval to continue construction of the ballroom. I'm like, they're already continuing it. And also, it's like, if this is a false flag, like, the guy's got the bona fides. He has a long history, like Chris said, his church group, his extremist groups, his militia called something, had awake in it, because they didn't want to have woke in it, so they had awake. Anyway, but whatever military group that was, I think they went out and did target shooting or something. I read about it. And then his teaching, his indoctrination, his manifesto, it's like, they would not have had to try hard. Like, hey, you want to come shoot up some people? Yeah, guys, I was planning on doing that anyways. So, like, the false flag falls flat. This guy didn't need to be false flagged. He was ready to go. So it just doesn't make sense. Like, I love the good false flag narrative and the good psyop stuff as good as anyone else when it's appropriate. This just doesn't make sense.
It's the same. Yeah, but it's almost the same as saying, because there was talk. What is it? Somebody, I forget who was saying this, and it doesn't even really matter. But like, somebody was saying that, what's her name, the press person, said something like, "Oh, there's going to be, get ready for shots to be fired," or something like that. But like, yeah. I mean, people say stuff like that, it's like if you're having kind of like a sarcastic back and forth with somebody, it's not uncommon to say, "Oh, shots fired," right? And they of course don't mean literal.
Yeah, I mean the thing was supposed to be a very spicy roast.
Yeah, I mean that's a very kind of colloquial, tongue-in-cheek term. "Ooh, shots fired!" Like that's like I think, like I said, I'm no fan, but I think that's reaching. Like that's reaching for a something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
I did find it interesting. The only other thing that I saw, and I haven't seen anything else, and I don't have time, and I don't even know if I have interest to go looking. But apparently, there was something where this same person was at a dinner with J.D. Vance and his wife some time ago. I don't know if there's any truth to it. It was something that I saw in passing, and I don't care enough to look. You like conspiracy theories? Maybe you can go look that up in your spare time.
We like conspiracy facts. Yeah, go ahead. What was it?
Oh no, yeah, no. I mean, no. Just that apparently this person, whatever his name is, was at a dinner with J.D. Vance and his wife some time ago.
Oh, that's all. Like he
I'm,
didn't do anything. He was just at the dinner.
I have no idea. Like that's like I
okay.
said, I saw it in passing, and I didn't care enough to look into it, and I don't care enough to look into it now.
Oh, okay.
But it was just like, I mean, no, what I said, like, you love a good conspiracy theory. So maybe.
Well,
the only other thing that I'd say about this morning is, man, you are caffeinated this morning.
I have not had caffeine in about 2 months. I think that's my problem.
That's even more startling.
I'm just high on life, Michael. Well, let's go across the pond to Ireland, where the land of leprechauns and enchantments and
Chris,
persecution
tell me I'm not
for
alone
being Christians.
Chris, tell me I'm not alone in this. He seems like super caffeinated right now.
He's extra.
I just get excited about topics. Like whenever I get amped up, I go. Like if you guys are talking about, like, watch this. Watch how my energy dies. And when you're like, well, Michael, I saw this psychological thing about how electrons and da-da-da, I'll be like, wow. Like, Nate,
Chris,
you didn't have caffeine this morning, Nate?
Chris, maybe Nate needs to hear this from you, but you guys aren't Mormon, right? So caffeine's okay, isn't it? Is like...
Yeah, this is a personal thing. I don't like being beholden to it. It is a curse, man. Caffeine is a curse.
I'm just messing with you, man.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I get the whole being high on life thing. I get it. I'm just messing with you.
Thank you. So, retired UK pastoral stand trial Wednesday facing criminal charges for preaching a gospel sermon inside a protected abortion buffer zone. I met someone last night that said they were in Ireland when they were voting on this buffer zone. Fun fact. I know people. Clive Johnston, 76-year-old, faces 2 charges under Northern Ireland's Abortion Services Safe Access Zone Act for conducting a religious service based on John 3:16. None of the Jeremiah stuff, not abortion is murder, before you were born, I knew you in the womb. Not even that, which is still fine, but not even that. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. John 3:16. What does that have to do with abortion? How can someone charge someone for that? I know. Because Ireland. Okay. So, near Causeway Hospital on Corleen on July 7th, according to a press release from the Christian Institute, prosecutors accused Johnston of influencing a protected person, whether directly or indirectly, by conducting a protest near the hospital where abortions are performed, in violation of a 2023 law. He also is also accused of failing to leave the safe access zone when directed. Okay. Well, shouldn't you have just left? Well, shouldn't you be allowed to walk freely in a civilized society? So, sticking to his guns. The law, metaphorically, the law bans anti-abortion protests and other behaviors within a buffer spanning to 100 to 250 meters. Well, which is it? Is it 100 or 250 meters? Okay. From each entrance or exit of the abortion provider. Joe Rogan thinks he'd get arrested if he hosted his show from the UK due to speech laws. Yeah, we all would. Michael would too. Okay. According to the Christian Institute, a UK-based religious nonprofit supporting Johnson's legal defense, Johnson did not mention abortion during the sermon, and no anti-abortion signs were present. The group argues the law is being used to criminalize gospel preaching in the UK, prosecuting Pastor Johnston for preaching the gospel. God so loved the world near a hospital on a quiet Sunday is a shocking new attempt to restrict freedom of religion and freedom of speech in a part of the world where open-air gospel services are part of the culture, said Simon Calvert, deputy director of the Christian Institute. Christians are pro-life, but preaching the good news about Christ is not the same thing as protesting against abortion, he continued, accusing police and prosecutors of overstepping. Here's a sign. Here's an anti-abortion. I'm not sharing. I'm so bad at my job. Here's an anti-abortion sign. It reads, "Jesus Christ, the same, yesterday, today, and forever." That's not an abortion sign, Nate. I know. Anyway, so that's apparently one of these bad signs. There is a.
Wait, Nate. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. I actually know someone who lives in Ireland as well. He's been a guest on the podcast a couple times. Super cool dude. Anyway, I had asked him about this because this is not a new law. This is from 2023.
You're right.
And
But this happened on July 7th, this event.
Yeah.
But go ahead, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the 100-meter, my understanding from talking to my friend Steven, is the 100-meter ban is kind of like the bare minimum, and it can be extended to up to 250 meters, so around 500 feet.
Right.
And that's dependent. And we say, like, oh, why is it one, not the other? And the reason there's flexibility there is because they're making an allotment for like other publicly accessible things. So, for example, if there's a service provider in building A, and building B is an optometrist, right? Then like people still need to be able to access building B or building X or whatever it happens to be. And then the other thing has to do with intersections, traffic zones, etc. That's why it has that degree of flexibility. But from what he told me is that there has to be something posted to say, it's actually like for zone W, there has to be a sign posted to say this is the like within that 100 to 250 meter range for this area, it's whatever.
Yeah, I understand the rationale.
135. Right?
I just wonder if there would have been a sign, or if this is the reason why he's not moving when asked. Because they're like, well, it was 250 meters, but now it's 100 meters. So now you need to move. And it's like, wait, there was no sign. I just wonder. Anyways, ambiguity in a contract. The principle is it benefits the one who didn't draft it. The law should be the same way, but no one cares about laws. Okay, or legal principle.
Yeah, but the other thing that I would say is that
like
I think somebody standing and holding a sign, I don't think should be like. I mean, I've seen some pretty ridiculous ones, like in Toronto. I've been in downtown Toronto, and they've had there are many abortion clinics in downtown Toronto, and there will be people standing holding up pictures of various things, right? I don't have to describe them. You all know what I'm talking about. And they're just standing there holding these signs, maybe pacing back and forth, use stuff like that. They're always doing them kind of like across the street or whatever, because I think the only law in Toronto is that you can't block entrances or block thoroughfares. So you can't necessarily be standing on the sidewalk. So on the other side of the street, you have to be off the thoroughfare. So stand on the grass on the other side of the street, so you're not impeding people's movement and stuff like that. The only thing that I would say shouldn't be allowed is, one, stopping people from entering, or yelling at them or stuff like that. But I think standing and holding a sign should be. Isn't that just free expression?
I completely agree, as well as the sermon had nothing to do with this. What's up, Chris?
So, Michael, blocking access to whatever would be covered under just regular criminal trespass. You don't need a special law that outlaws certain types of speech to accomplish the same exact goal. What these laws are designed to do are to eventually make it so that it is so palatable to round up Christians that you can put them into gulags and concentration camps. That is the entire point of the left passing these types of laws, is that you want to so criminalize in a newer speech that remotely looks Christian that you can then justify the mass killings of all of the people involved. This is exactly what the left wants to do. And I think that it's the height of Pollyannian-ish, however you say that word, for you to just be blithely ignorant of the more evil people, like the guy who decided to take some shots at Trump or whatever other journalists, Pollyannish. So I appreciate your heart, because you are definitely on the side of the angels on a lot of these things. But I think that you do need to take a hard look at the left and why they're passing these laws. Like,
and that's
you can do
wait,
criminal
hang on, guys, hang on. Can we save the Chris and
I'm
Michael
impressed.
portion where I'm excluded for after I at least get through this article? Otherwise, I never will. Let me just finish the Christian being persecuted in Ireland.
Chris, he's so triggered. Go ahead, Nate.
This is why, like in America, we have the FACE Act. Remember, like, we don't need that. Trespassing and, criminal obstruction, like, these are already laws. We don't need the FACE Act, but we got one. Anyway, so back to the guy in Ireland real fast. There is a vital principle at stake. If the gospel can be banned in public place, where else can it be banned? Other public places. Well, now it's 500 meters. Now it's 1,000 meters. Now just actually don't do it at all. He said, but about a dozen people, guys. This is all over a dozen people having a public sermon that had nothing to do with abortion. Anyway, so he said about a dozen people attended on Sunday service near a hedge and separated from the hospital entrance by a road, by a divided highway. So, by a divided highway, guys, this should not be an issue. Ireland, get it together. And Michael, ask your friend Stephen where his pot of gold is. If convicted, Johnston faces a criminal record and potential fines totaling thousands of pounds. His group said, let's see. I'm grateful for the kind of messages and support I've received from the members of both public here and abroad, and for the prayers being offered up to God about this case by many Christians, Johnston said in the statement, adding that he looks forward to defending himself in court. Well, the court's rigged. Good luck. But yes, prayers for you, Johnston. At a preliminary hearing in March, Johnston pleaded not guilty to charges of seeking to influence people accessing the hospital's abortion services and for not immediately leaving the area when asked to do so by police. When asked to do so. Let's see. According to the press release, his defense attorney told the court that the buffer zone legislation conflicts with the protections for religious exemption and freedom of conscience enshrined under Article 9 of European Convention on Human Rights. Oh, isn't that interesting? But no one's going to care. Okay. So, there we go. The Public Prosecution Service
this is
for
curious.
Oh, hang on.
This is curious also because when I was looking this up, apparently the maximum fine is 500 pounds for this. So he said he faces. So maybe. And I don't know any more about this than I think you do, but
I saw a larger number in some other article. It was
it sounds like he did more than just one thing if he's facing, because I mean this one thing carries a maximum fine of 500 pounds.
No, we just saw it. There were multiple things here.
So he did more than one thing?
Well, yeah, it was like
accused of more than one thing?
Well, yeah, that's what it sounds like. So
okay. Cheerfully retracted.
Oh, here we go. So one was the influencing people not to get abortions, and then the other thing was not leaving when police asked him to. So those are two things right there. But yeah, I think I saw a figure. It was like 1,500 or 2,000 pounds or something like that. But anyway, so the Public Prosecution Service for Northern Ireland told Fox News that following careful consideration on all the available evidence and police investigation, a decision was taken to prosecute an individual for one count of allegedly doing an act in a safe access zone contrary to the abortion services. So just like we said. So your question is answered. And so failing, this is weird. Allegedly doing an act in a safe access zone contrary to the Abortion Services Safe Zones Act, okay. And one count of failing to comply with the direction under the same act. Yeah, so that's two acts right there, two counts. So
Well, yeah, because that's the same as it is in, I don't know if in the U.S., but in Canada, you can't be like um, if you are trespassing somewhere, the assumption is, or the assumption like at least in Canada it is that maybe you don't know you're trespassing. So, for example, if you're walking somewhere and it's like, oh, this is private property, you can't be here. Oh, and then you have to be asked to leave. It's only if you refuse to leave that you can actually be charged with trespassing in Canada.
I
Because the assumption is, oh man, I didn't know I couldn't be here, and you leave, right?
Yeah, I think our world leaders have, in like pretty much all governments, because they're basically all awful, have a problem. Like in my own country, I hate it when I see overcharging. It'll be like, for example, um, someone someone may have like a gun crime, right? And then they charge like five other things on top of it, and it'll be like unrelevant things, right? Like if you're robbing a bank with a gun, it's like, well, armed robbery, felonious use of a weapon, like it makes sense. But then it's like someone has a gun, right? So now it's like, let's say unlawful possession because they're a felon, which the Constitution doesn't make exceptions for that, but somehow our laws do. But let's say they're a felon with a gun, so felonious possession of a gun. That's a charge. But then they'll add like more charges, and I can't even think, but it's like they'll add like 3 or 4 extra charges on top of that. So it's like, great, you just took the guy from like whatever penalty that could have been, to now like 20 years in jail just on all these extra charges thrown on top of it. That, in my humble opinion, is trash. Independent point. Chris, what do you think about that?
So then, by that metric, if this person, the person who charged the correspondence dinner, how many charges should he face?
Well, how many did he confess to? So,
yeah, no, it's just a curious point because I actually think what might, at least from my perspective, what might be reasonable is you look at the intent. So, for example, I think we'll end up agreeing on this. So, for example, if somebody, because the same thing happens here in Canada too. It actually happened to a friend of mine. He got a speeding ticket, and when the cop pulled him over, I guess the cop felt that he had given him some kind of attitude. So then he looked at the car and said, "Oh, I want to check the level of tint on your windows." Right.
yeah.
And yeah, exactly. So it's like, basically it's like, if you're, it's like you push my buttons and I'm just going to see what else I can rack up kind of thing. So I think there's intent there. So this guy, the guy who shot the correspondence dinner, if he had, confessed to all these things, and yeah, he should be charged whatever he's charged with. But I think we agree that you don't just try to drum up stuff for the sake of drumming it up.
I have a feeling, like, look, attempted murder, he confesses to that, right, in his manifesto, so you've got him on attempted murder, but then what does an attempted murder mean? So, his targets was, he didn't mention Trump by name. I mean, he's totally implied Trump, rapist, pedophile, blah, 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 so he's talking about Trump. He didn't say him by name. He did name Trump admin. So now, do you give him one account of attempted murder for every single admin in the Trump administration? Well, no, that seems a little weird. So I don't know. So like, or hold on. So you've got him for attempted murder, at least of several people, point blank, like the cop he shot. That's attempted murder. There's no question about that. So then overcharging is like, well, attempted murder of everyone there. Maybe Trump, because he's clearly spoken about. You'd have to fight that on court. Treason, absolutely treason. He's going after the sitting government of the country, the whole administration. So, I mean, there's nothing better than treason. 100%. You don't need anything besides that. But I guarantee they're going to try to say, like, well, he traveled across state lines with weapons, and then probably a different charge, like he intended to do bad things, to commit crimes with weapons, one for each weapon, unlawful possession of like ammo with intent. Like they could probably add all this other stuff that's nonsense. It's not necessary. You've got attempted murder and you've got treason and probably some other like actually legitimate ones. And now let's hear how Chris thinks it's all wrong. Chris, you were sighing and groaning.
I mean, okay, like this would take 13 seconds to just go ask your robot why prosecutors stack zillions of charges on. It's because you can't go back after the fact that something's gone to trial and add a charge. And so, like,
we know why they do it.
Well, but no, but what I'm saying is that it's not that they're trying to overcharge the crime in most cases. It is that if they do not have all of these things, including lesser charges, then if anything gets thrown out of court, then the entire prosecution gets thrown out of court because you can't have double jeopardy. And so this prevents prosecutors like from losing on a case and then just charging somebody with another crime for the same incident that's a lesser charge. Like that's why they stack up like 16 different charges on somebody, not because they're trying to overcharge somebody. It's because they're trying to be thorough for whatever happens in court. Like
That
all you
is
got to
the
do is ask your robot.
I don't need to ask the robot. That is the other side of the argument. No one needs to ask a robot. Everyone knows this. That is the other side of the argument. You seem to have way too much naive faith in our government. I see this in most cases. Like, you see it as, well, maybe sometimes they would abuse that. I see that as far too many times they abuse that, and it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall, just making sure everything sticks, because if their prosecution doesn't get thrown out, like, how many times are they like, oh, well, we charge you with like 16 different things for actually 2 things that are legitimate, but since those 2 things stuck and you're going to jail for, a long, long time, you know what, we're going to go ahead and plea down those other like 15, 14 charges, because, we just wanted to make sure we had an airtight case, and since we did, and you're convicted of the ones we actually knew, like murder, you're convicted of that, now we're just going to let the other stuff be pled down so you don't have to spend 15 consecutive life sentences. How many times are they that? They're like, nah, we got that guy good. Give me a promotion, Captain.
Or the jury will only, give you a guilty on certain charges. I mean, like, look, man, the whole thing. Look, don't get me wrong. I think the government is stupid and evil.
I love the government, Chris.
What are you talking
right.
Yeah, sorry.
What are you talking about?
No. The government is wonderful and is our mother. Yeah. But like, I think we're raging against the machine on the wrong thing. The thing that should be looked at is that there are police that have instructions to go and harass only certain people, and that happens to be conservatives or abolitionists. If this was a bunch of left wingers protesting no kings, of course it's in Ireland, so they like kings there, but whatever the left wing soup du jour is, like, they would have never been harassed by the police. The point is that we have unequal weights and measures that are always against conservatives when leftists are in power. This is what happened with Joe Biden. This is why he prosecuted to the nth degree anybody who was even remotely pro-life, trying to throw them in prison, yanking grandmas out of their houses that are 75 years old with SWAT teams. I mean, the punishment is the prosecution, not the other way around. And so this is what I'm talking about, is that, again, when we elect leftists, they will do evil communist things, and eventually their goal for leftists, and I'm talking about the evil leftists here, which are 90% of the leftists, Michael is our 10% that is not evil. The evil leftists, they want to take their political enemies and murder them. That is their entire point of existence.
I agree with all of that. All right. So what else we got, kids?
No, man. I mean, I'm good. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that you've got, what's going on. I mean, like, they just I don't know if you saw this in the news, but they just declassified that there's an entire dossier from intelligence agencies on Jeff Durbin. Did you see that?
Who's just Jeff Durbin?
Okay. Jeff Durbin runs a major abolitionist group in the United States. He's a preacher. I'm not a big fan of Jeff Durbin. I think he uses bad tactics, but like, he's a major abolitionist. He does street evangelism all the time. Go look up Jeff Durbin. He's quite famous in evangelicalism. But does all sorts of Mormon stuff, goes out, just talks to people. He is literally the pastor of a church. And apparently they have a massive anti-terrorist dossier on this guy. The guy wouldn't hurt a fly. But
So what is
the
his
Biden
terrorism thing
administration,
for? Like stuff he says, or like what
yeah,
is their
it's
problem?
because their problem is that he's conservative. And so it's the whole thing is that the Biden administration has been building they had a portfolio on Charlie Kirk as a terrorist.
Yeah, yeah.
So like the entire thing is that the government, because the government is by nature leftist, no matter who's in charge, whether Trump's in charge or whoever else, until they finally clean out everybody in the government, they're going to have to fire however many million of federal workers there are to clean out all the leftism. That's just the facts of it. But they can't. So Trump is having zero effect. All these leftists are still running around, doing stuff and the whole thing is that the leftists in our government, they want to round us all up and murder us. Well, torture us for a while. That's what they want. This is who they are.
I completely, yes. I think we all agree, and Michael is just bored with this.
Yeah, but putting a dossier together on Jeff Durbin or somebody like Russell T. Hunter is just an outrageous surveillance of normal Americans. And everyone should be absolutely outraged by such behavior. But again, no one will be prosecuted. No one cares. They're just going to put us on the train cars and call it a day.
I was going to say something else. I just got distracted by this thing in protest.
Chris, you forgot to mention that one of the things they put in Jeff Durbin's dossier was his anti-choice activities.
Yeah. Anti-choice activities. It's like the anti-American activities, stuff that they did in the 50s. Yeah, look, anybody, we bought shirts from Abolitionist Rising. I'm sure I'm on an FBI watch list.
No, I meant
my kid.
They're going after him for being a Calvinist.
Oh, true.
Speaking of Calvinism, this may not be the time because it's too much, but okay, hang on. I want to come back to this. Apparently, there is 42 lost Bible passages uncovered from a 6th century New Testament manuscript. Okay, so we'll hold that. Okay, Chris, so I'm on book 4 now, and I think for the rest of the Institutes, he's just going to rail against Catholics, and, I'll probably agree with everything he says about that. But man, book 3, that snippet I posted, I didn't post it because I just started reading. I'm like, oh, here it is. After I was done with it, I posted that chapter, so people would easily be able to find whatever I was referencing. The first 2 books, I didn't really have too much of a problem with. There may have been some issues I had, but I'm like, well, I don't want to be too picky. On that chapter I posted man, that was a hard one because it still doesn't have anything to do with determinism, but his logic steps, because of this, it must conclude this. I can't believe you guys let him get away with that. Was there stuff built upon him by other people that makes sense to you? Because if you just take, if you just take the things he says in that, every other sentence, I'm like, that doesn't follow. That doesn't follow. He's like, and it would say something like, Jacob I love, Esau I hated. Therefore, because of this one-off, this is the way it absolutely is forever. I'm like, well, wait, that's why we can't say without a shadow of a doubt all aborted babies go to heaven, because we have, I think, good indicators from David's child and some Jeremiah that aborted babies probably go to heaven, but we can't absolutely say that's not a one-off, and that is absolutely what happens in every single case. So just because Jacob I love, Esau I hate, and he gives 4 or 5 other examples kind of related to that, but the idea is God did all this before they were even born, therefore it's this way for every instance across the board. But then one more thing before you jump in. This was the important thing. 80% of his reasoning is combating the idea that if it's not his way, it's it's because people think God is mean and unfair and people don't deserve this. So it seems like he's really pushing this position, like 80% at least, because the alternative is, well, if it's not this way, people didn't deserve hell, and God would be mean, and it wouldn't be fair. And he's combating this idea of fairness, which I completely agree. I'm like, facts don't care about your feelings. It doesn't matter what God wants to do. Mike makes the way things are. So you can cry about it. Whatever God does is what God does. So it feels like he's combating that and saying, well, God doesn't care about your feelings and how you feel. God is sovereign and God is master. Therefore, predestination. I'm like, well, no. The first part, God is sovereign, God is master, he's the potter, we're the clay. But that doesn't mean that, therefore, because of that, everything you say about Jacob and Esau and everything is across the board to be taught as doctrine. That just seems like there should be some theories about that and some cautionary tales. But why do you guys let him get by with that? Like, if that happened in Clubhouse...
Because that's not what he's doing. You're just missing it. You're not getting it. So, like...
Am I the dumbest person in the world, Chris? I mean...
No, it's just 16th century language. It's difficult. Like, I mean, like I said, it's hard.
I'm reading like Tawala. I can't even pronounce it. It's like a writing from the 900s about Irish cattle farmers and a war that broke out over Irish cattle farms with the Celts and the Druids in the 900s. Like, I'm used to reading old language, Chris.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the argument that he's tracing is the fact that Paul is building an argument in Romans 9. And so because of the argument that Paul is building, there are only a few conclusions that can be drawn from that argument. You can't say that Jacob and Esau is a one-off from Paul's argument. That's just not one of the options. Okay, so like the way that Arminians deal with this passage is that they say that it's the nations. Okay, and so they're going to say that God just elects nations. Like they wouldn't even give the Arminians who are against this wouldn't even remotely even give the objection that you gave now because it doesn't follow from the actual text of Romans 9. And that's the problem. So
but that was just like one thing. But then the way he tied it in, like his whole thing was like he says it like it's Tain Bokalang. Imagine I'm a druid saying that. That's what I'm working through now. But it's like when people say, well, the Bible translation. It's like, no, we have good translators. We understand what the Bible means, even though it was written way before Calvin. So his whole thing, it really is. He says it over and over. He's like, people would say it's unfair that God does this, and that's wrong. And people would say it's not deserving that a person before they're born already is going to be in hell, and that's wrong. So it's not lost in translation. Like that's exactly what he's fighting with, which I agree with half of it. Yes, it doesn't matter what people feel. It doesn't matter if people think it's something's unfair or whatever. What matters is God is sovereign and will do what he wills, but that doesn't automatically mean, because Jacob and Esau, you should build an entire doctrine on a couple one-off cases. Maybe it's not one-off, but the point is you don't know that.
That's not what he's saying. Like, I mean, what I don't think you heard my argument. My argument is that you're missing Paul's argument. But he's just riffing off of Paul's argument, but you're just saying, well, Calvin's not even giving the argument because Calvin's assuming that you're reading Romans 9.
Right, but Romans 9 is only one, like it's a really big chapter, though. That's what I'm saying. No,
it's not.
Well, like Romans
9 is like 6 paragraphs.
Not Romans 9, Calvin's chapter. That chapter in the one I posted, right?
Nate, if I may.
Yeah, you may. I was just going to say, it's not just the Romans 9 thing. It was like every other sentence. I'm like, well, wait, that doesn't follow. Well, wait, that doesn't follow. Well, that doesn't follow. So, like, I was going through this, and, like, every 2 or 3 sentences, I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what? So it's more than just Romans 9. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah. So, like Chris is saying, because Paul is making a universal application in Romans 9. That's why he ends that section with, therefore, it does not depend on human will or effort, right? What's the it? Well, what he said about Jacob and Esau, God's purpose according to election, right? So God's election doesn't depend on human will or effort. That's the universal case that Paul is making. He's only using the Jacob and Esau reference as one small point to make his overall argument. So it's not that Calvin is taking one small thing and making a bigger point. he's just, like Chris said, he's just assuming you're familiar with Romans 9 and the conclusions that Paul is making. And that's why when he cites the Jacob and Esau passage, he's assuming that his reader is familiar with that and the application Paul is making on a universal scope. So since God acted this way with Jacob and Esau, therefore God's electing purposes do not depend on human will or effort, but on God who shows mercy.
Well, right, and that's why it's again, this isn't even an argument. So, I mean, it's a big chapter. So the other thing, though, is about lineage. Like, he spends a lot of time talking about lineage, and like, well, along the human effort, which I agree, right? But still, it's like, well, see, this doesn't. So I guess people were having conversations about lineage, right? Like, this was from like, I think he was attack or arguing against the Jews on this, like our father and our lineage and our this
exactly.
and he's like, well, our lineage doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You know what you said, and I'm like, well, yeah, I agree with that too. But it just seems like a lot. I mean, you guys should all read the chapter again. It's in book 3.
How about this, Nate? Why don't we sit down together as a very special episode? It's like a very special blossom.
It will take a very long time.
That's okay. Well, like, we can do it in chunks. Okay, so like, let's do it in small chunks. Let's do like 15 minutes a day. And you could even make a little AI song intro and stuff. It's going to be like 15 minutes of Calvin. You know, it'd be great. And we'll just walk through it together, and then maybe I will discover Calvin's reasoning was way off, even though he's probably one of the greatest theologians that ever lived. But we'll walk through it together.
We'll see.
Like, I think that'd be a really good segment for your show. I think it'd be really popular too.
I mean, I may want to pray a prayer like Elijah did while he was hanging out under the tree. But I mean, that's the thing is. It just seems like the reasoning here, and I like to think it's not my bias, or I was setting my bias aside, because the first volume 1, I maybe if I was focusing picky, I'd be like, I don't really know about that. I don't really know about it, because he touches on things here and there. I'm like, I don't know about that. But I mean, by and large, the first volume was fine, and whenever it goes after papists, well, I mean, that's fine too. Been there, done that. And like book 4 that I'm in right now. Presumably for the rest of the volume, he's going to rail against papists, and that's fine. So it was only when we got to that topic in that book, I'm like, well, wait, hang on. The reasoning is doesn't seem to follow the same ironclad way all the other reasoning did. And maybe that's my bias creeping in. I don't know. I'm not perfect. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I am not perfect. Yeah, we could do that maybe. I'll have to get my head around that, because I'm going to... Yeah,
I think it'd be like a really fun segment, It'd be like, Nate is on this journey reading the Institutes. He's got a couple of Calvinists he can ask questions to. And it's like,
so
take 5 minutes, do a non-coffee fueled rant about what section we're going to talk about with Calvin, read the section, and then just like, all right, here's my problems. Do it like Festivus. Here's my problems with you people. And then, go from there.
So do most Calvinists, they probably don't come to Calvinism because of the Institutes. They probably are like, I was a deranged sinner, and then I met a preacher and told me the gospel, and I believed, who happened to be a Calvinist. Or they got saved in an evangelical church and through their studies discovered Calvin. Like, even like Sproul and MacArthur, like how do these people have a story like of their biography? Like, do most people come to the conclusion of Calvinism because of Calvin's Institutes? Or even if it is Calvin, is it because of a bunch of other stuff he wrote? Or they're like, no, it is like Calvinism is solidified in the Institutes. Or like, well, that kind of is foundational, but you need a lot more of Calvin, and then you need some other people who are built on that. Like, how does this happen typically? Greg, how did it happen for you?
I can only give my personal story. I was being constantly accused of being a Calvinist before I'd ever heard the word. I came to the doctrines of grace just by reading the New Testament, period. But I would imagine because I came up in Calvary Chapel, and they're anti-Calvinist, but they're very pro-scripture. So they encourage a culture of scripture reading. which I did, and I came to those conclusions. I thought everyone had the same conclusions. I figured we were all reading the same Bible. Well, I was right about half of it. We're reading the same Bible, but we're reaching different conclusions for some reason. But I'd imagine there's others that get saved in a, like a Presbyterian or Reformed Baptist context. So they're going to be taught those doctrines of grace from the Bible, not from the institutes. They're going to be taught it from the Bible. So they're going to believe, that's what they're going to believe because they're being properly discipled.
Well, I don't know if they'd come up with all necessarily tulip and like the wording and phraseology, like the secret decree.
Well, not the
like
phraseology, but
yeah, like you're not going to come up with the different decrees of God from the Bible. You're like, well, it seems like God does this and God does that. You're not going to come up with, well, there's a secret decree, unless you get that from. Well, what about
Deuteronomy 29:29?
Okay, well, in terms of like why God allows evil or why God ordains or decrees evil. Like in terms of today's life.
God's thoughts are not our thoughts. Like that's the secret decree. So I mean, like, look, 95% of Calvinists, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't have an actual stat, but I could probably pull one, have never even picked up the Institutes. Like ever.
Well, right, but I mean, if they've set under tutelage of the other great pastors who are Reformed, they've basically heard the Institutes.
I don't think MacArthur even ever read the Institute. I think MacArthur came to the doctrines of grace on his own.
Well, did he identify as Reformed or a Calvinist?
He identified as a Calvinist because Reformed also requires confessionalism, which his church is not confessional.
But it also requires. He would have read Calvin before being like, I identify as a Calvinist. I've never read Calvin.
Yeah, well, that's what most people do. Most people have never read Calvin, and they hear this word Calvinist. Dude. Here's a perfect example. Remember Antinous, the Greek guy?
Yes.
Awesome dude. Love this guy, right? So he rolls up into Clubhouse, and he's been a Christian maybe 2 years, and this cost him a lot to become an actual Christian, right? Like this whole story?
No. I know he's
Orthodox
a Greek, right?
family, and
yeah.
And when he actually became a Christian, it was bad for him, man. Like he had a lot of problems.
Is he still good? I haven't seen him in a long time.
No, he's good. Yeah, he had just had some surgery. He's a professional soccer player. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
Yeah. Anyway, this kid, he taught himself New Testament Greek in a couple of weeks. He's already Greek, right? And so New Testament Greek, has just got some other things in it. Obviously, he's got the vocabulary and he knows the alphabet. So it only took him. He said to me, it was like basically like, well, if you took 2 weeks to really understand how to read Shakespeare, it's kind of like that. And I was like, okay. And so he was like, yeah, he took his time. And then he just started reading through the New Testament in Greek. And then he comes on Clubhouse and there's all these people that are like jumping on his back and yelling at him. And he's like, I don't understand. Who are these people? Why are they so upset with me? Like when I'm just talking about what I'm reading in the New Testament. And what is a Calvinist? What's a Calvin? Like he had absolutely no exposure. And yet he came to every single same conclusion about all of the doctrines of grace just by reading the New Testament in its original language. Completely independently, and this makes the anti-Calvinists crazy. Because it's not some historical thing or something that he was just, because he came from a completely alien culture, completely not exposed to any Reformed theology whatsoever, comes from Greece, just reads the New Testament in Greece, and his entire testimony is like, yeah, I ended up becoming a Calvinist because I just read the New Testament. Like, doesn't everybody think these things? Kind of like Greg. And then, and so the idea is that if you honestly read the New Testament for yourself from scratch, just reading the words on the page and understanding what the authors are saying, you will be a Calvinist without John Calvin, the Institutes, Augustine, any of it.
Yeah, what's interesting, actually, I just want to chime in. So, sorry, I was just working in the background for a minute. I heard what you guys were saying, but I was dealing with nonsense on my end. Okay. I may have actually said that, Chris, I may have actually said this to you before. I'm not 100% sure. Doesn't matter. You knew that, that I was raised Christian, nominal Catholic. When I went out on my own and became more religious than any other member of my family, I went to the Protestant persuasion and then lost my faith. But I think if I look at it, if I give it my most, Nate, if I put on my hat of charitability plus who knows what, if I were to find my faith again, I think I would probably be Calvinist. Because I don't disagree with what Chris says. I think it's nonsense. But if you read the words as written, I don't disagree with you.
Well, I mean, that's like why you constantly accuse me of making Calvinist points and being Calvinist. I'm like, well, look, if the Bible is right, the Bible is right. So it's not an Arminian point to read John 3:16. It's like, that's a great Arminian point. It's like it's a Bible point. It's in the Bible. So I mean, sure, there's overlap, but I mean, obviously there may be some things like the loose reasoning that I'm not quite sold. It doesn't mean the conclusion is wrong. It means I'm not convinced by the reasoning to get there. But yeah, I mean, well, we could leave that there, or not. You guys can keep talking. I'm trying to. Apparently, did you know there are Codex X? Has anyone heard of Codex X? Chris, have you heard of this?
Nope.
Codex X, I'm trying to translate, is 42 lost Bible passages uncovered from a 6th century New Testament manuscript. So this is from Protestia. Apparently, there was like ghost text. Like, I guess it was the manuscript known as Codex X had dated to the 6th century, contains letters of Paul. The manuscript was dismantled in the Middle Ages and its pages reused in other books. As a result, surviving fragments are now held. So apparently there's text that was been written over or erased or something. So now they're usually using stuff like a CD layer to go under the text and see what was there. So this is known as Codex X. And the Greek manuscript is available. And I am trying to hurry up and just copy and paste and see if my robot can translate it real fast to English for us. Because apparently it's not in English. Anyway, so yeah. What do you think you're going to find? Maybe some stuff that's already in the New Testament or secret knowledge, Chris? Do you think we're going to find secret knowledge?
Nate, did you say that was from the 6th century? Because I heard something about this super briefly, but I thought it was early. I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I thought it was earlier than that.
It's dated.
It's 10th century. So I'm looking at it right now.
Well, and Protestia says it's dated to the 6th century, but that's just the copy. So like that's what they're working with. So I mean,
no, this is actually, look. I'm looking at the entire thing right here from the BDAG.
Right, so, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying the words I'm reading from Protestia say that. But regardless, if it's letters of Paul, then I mean it's obviously in the before the 1st century. But when these copies are done, so 10th century. Go on, explain.
Yeah.
BDAG.
So well, BDAG is like it's a book that has like all kinds of the textual criticism stuff in it, and it also talks through like different uses of different words in the Greek language. Based on like poems and other plays and other writings that we still have from Greek and how words were used. So it gives you a full semantic range of a lot of words and anyway. But yeah, the date is showing as 9th or 10th century. It's parchment, 160 surviving leaves written in 2 columns, 45 lines per page. Fragmentary portions of the 4 Gospels only. It includes Matthew, John, nearly complete, Luke, most of the Gospel, Mark, only from Mark 6:46 onward, but includes the longer ending, which is rare. Primarily Byzantine text type. It's category 5 in the dominant tradition of later Greek manuscripts. So it can't be early because it was in the Byzantine tradition. It shows mixed readings that align with earlier Alexandrian text type. It also contains extensive patristic commentaries, mainly from John Chrysostom or Matthew and John, plus others like Pseudo Titus of Bostra on Luke. It omits the pericope adulterae. It omits Matthew 16, 2b through 3, the signs of the times. and it includes a longer ending of Mark. I mean, it's not one of the great unicals like Codex Sinaiticus or Codex Vaticanus or Codex Alexandrius, which are 4th to 5th century and far more complete and earlier. It represents a later unical tradition and helps scholars trace the evolution of the Byzantine text that underlies most of the medieval Greek New Testaments and medieval modern translations. There's nothing in here about, I'm just reading. Yeah. Here, let's find out from the robot.
Oh my god, this is huge. It said 42 passages. I guess that's true. I thought 42 passages was going to be quick. This is tons. Yeah, there's no way a robot's going to be able to translate all this at once.
If it has the longer ending of Mark, there's a win for Mabel.
That's right.
His snake.
Mabel, my beautiful sister. But yeah, basically, like, I think what people are saying are these lost passages are just going to be those notes from patristics that it was so no, there are no verified secret passages missing from our Greek New Testament. Claims of hidden, suppressed, or deliberately removed canonical passages usually stem from misunderstandings of textual criticism. What textual criticism actually shows we possess over, and this is the godless secular robot was saying we possess over 5,800 Greek New Testament manuscripts, plus thousands more in translations and quotations by the early church fathers. Textual critics compare these to reconstruct the earliest attainable text. Modern critical notation editions, the Nestle-Aland 28, UBS 5th edition, form the basis of most contemporary translations, NIV, ESV, CSB. These favor the earliest and best manuscripts. The older Byzantine-type text, the majority of medieval manuscripts, underlies the Textus Receptus in the King James Version. It sometimes includes later versions or harmonizations absent from earliest witnesses. And I don't want to sit here and just read robot output, but 99.9% of the Greek New Testament text is undisputed across all manuscript traditions. Most variants are minor. Longer disputed passages are transparently marked in modern Bibles with double brackets. The main disputed passages are the missing pericope adulterae, the longer ending of Mark being included, and the comma Johannine is completely absent from every Greek known manuscript before the 16th century. So, this is just basic textual criticism. So, what are the claims of, like? Why don't we get into the juicy part of this? What are people claiming that we're missing from our Greek New Testaments that have been uncovered?
Actually, I don't think anyone is. As much as I've read, that's the point. It's almost like, Chris, would you agree God preserves his word, and what we do have is what we should have? And like right now, by the way, if anyone wants to do this, I'll put the link in there. But I've just translated like 20 pages or something, just copy pasta, and it's like 1st and 2nd Corinthians. So, spoiler, just grab a Christian Bible, turn to 1st and 2nd Corinthians, and that's what I've got so far. So I have a feeling if you do that through like 80 more of these pages, you're going to get the same thing.
Well,
that's all.
If you found something in what'd you say, Chris, 10th century? If you found something in a 10th century manuscript that has never been discovered anywhere else, what's the more likely scenario? That the earlier ones took things out, or that this later Johnny come lately added something in? Which one's more likely?
And if all the early ones it just doesn't make any logical sense. If all the early ones took the stuff out, how does somebody living 1,000 years after the New Testament have any idea what that content would have been if it was already all taken out? Huh. It defies logic.
That's like the conversation Mark and that Jacob guy are having in the Discord chat. Is that where you got that from, Greg? Because they're having the same thing. They're like, well, isn't it more that people took it out or people put it in?
No, that's just independent, rational thought on my part. No, I'm not looking at the chat.
Oh, well, good job. So I guess that's interesting. So there's Codex X discovery. What can you ask your robot, Chris? Are the people saying anything that are the people claiming that there's secret knowledge?
No, I was riffing on what you were saying, is that people are saying that there's secret knowledge. I mean, like, the robot has already said, no, there's no secret knowledge. There's just,
okay.
There's basically,
I think this is letting us know.
This has been known for a long time. They didn't like just add this into the, like, apparently this stuff has been used for a really long time. So I guess this was, let's just
what? How long has Codex X been known?
Yeah, that's what I want to ask the robot. I'm asking the robot now. Yeah, so it surfaced in academic circles in 1757.
But there's something about, like, why it's relevant now. Oh,
maybe because they just developed the technology to detect the ghostwriting or whatever you call it.
Maybe it's because there's like an AI thing that's detecting the ghostwriting. Maybe that's why.
Okay, so now that makes more sense. So in 2023, the real science behind some of these claims, but the sensational version about secret passages from secret gospels hidden under the New Testament is mostly overstated and misleading. So palimpsests and the technology are real. Ancient scribes often reused expensive parchment by scraping or washing off the old writing, creating a palimpsest, from Greek palimpestos, meaning scraped again, and writing text, the new text, on top. This was common because parchment was very costly. Modern technology can now recover much of the erased undertext without damaging the manuscript. There's multi-spectral imaging, X-ray fluorescence, reflectance, transformation imagery, and UV photography. These techniques make faded or invisible ink visible again by exploiting the difference in how the inks in the parchment react to different light wavelengths. Major ongoing projects include the Sinai Palimpsest project at St. Catherine's Monastery in Sinai, Egypt, one of the most important. Since 2011, it has imaged thousands of pages from 160 palimpsest manuscripts and recovered hundreds of previously lost or unknown or poorly known texts in 10 plus languages, including Greek, Syriac, Gregorian. These include early biblical material, classical literature, medical texts, and Christian writings. Other projects include texts like fragments from the Book of Jubilees, medical treatises, and other Christian commentaries. The work is legitimate, peer-reviewed scholarship and has greatly expanded our knowledge of the ancient world. What has actually been discovered under biblical manuscripts? Early biblical translations or variants, part of the Synoptic Gospels, early copies of Paul's letters or books like Numbers, classical Greek literature, previously unknown mythological texts, or medical works by Hippocrates. That's fun. Early Christian writings, commentaries, or liturgical texts, Jewish texts like fragments related to the Book of Jubilees. The recent example, medievalist Gregory Kessel used ultraviolet imaging on a Vatican Library manuscript, a double palimpsest with 3 layers of text, to recover an old Syriac translation of parts of Matthew chapters 11 and 12, an interpretive rendering or variant. This dates roughly to the 4th or 5th century and is one of the earliest witnesses in the Gospels in Syriac. It was published in the academic journal New Testament Studies. This is valuable for textual criticism, but not a new secret gospel. Are there secret passages from secret gospels being uncovered? No, not in the way the viral claims suggest. The undertexts recovered are almost always earlier material that was erased for practical reuse. Parchment was scarce, not because someone was trying to hide or for a forbidden or secret Christian gospel. No credible discovery has revealed suppressed canonical passages that belong in the New Testament but were deliberately covered up. The secret gospels, quote unquote, like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Judas, or the disputed secret Gospel of Mark, were found in completely separate contexts, e.g., the Nag Hammadi library in Egypt. And you guys know about that one. There was a bunch of Gnostic texts in the Nag Hammadi library that conspiracy theorists love. Like, dude, my kid can go on for hours about the Nag Hammadi. Like, he's done so much research on it. Like, he knows so much about the stupid Nag Hammadi. It's scary. Like, and he'll tell you all about the emerald tablets and the
the tablet in Noosh.
yeah,
Whatever.
dude. You should, you
Sharia.
should do sometime, man. We should do a little Zoom call here at the house, and you could just talk to my kid for like an hour about all the conspiracy stuff that you've probably talked to other people about. Like, with
Chris,
the
is a
hidden
conspiracy
texts
fact
and-
there are legit space centers and alien spaceships under the temples or the pyramids in Giza.
No. You don't understand. The pyramids were actually
They're the tops.
landing pads.
Yeah.
They are the landing pads for ancient vessels, including the Hatak class attack ship that is very popular with the Goa'uld.
Yes, and
But
we also
anyway,
have
we
water
won't go into that.
purification and infinite power and energy, and connecting the
Yeah.
tunnels from the Sphinx to the Great Temple. Or I keep saying temple, the Great Pyramid.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, man, there's, like, dude, this kid, you guys could talk about Western esotericism for hours, and then he's going to give you all of the principles of alchemy. And then he's going to turn lead into gold, and he has a philosopher's stone. He can do all of this.
Speaking of alchemy, well, let me tell you what I've discovered.
Well, wait,
Apparently,
do you want me to finish the bottom line real quick?
Sure,
It's like
yes.
a couple of sentences.
Yes.
So the bottom line, the technology is real and giving us wonderful new access to lost ancient texts. Projects like the Sinai Palimpsest, our initiative, are genuinely advancing biblical scholarship by recovering early witnesses to the Gospels and other writings. However, there is no evidence that these methods are uncovering secret passages from secret Gospels that undermine what should be added to the New Testament canon. What we're mostly seeing is earlier copies or translations of known biblical books, completely unrelated classical or medical texts, or occasionally early Christian writings that were never part of the canon. These discoveries actually strengthen our understanding of the New Testament and how it was transmitted, rather than revealing hidden secret conspiracies.
That is true. The biggest Bible surprise I found is apparently it's the way the stories were grouped together. So it says the chapter surprise. The most shocking find is not the words of the scripture. That's all the same. It's just how they group the chapters. So some of the earliest known chapter lists were different than the Bible, and it just shows how they grouped different stories together in different groupings. So exactly the same. It's just like how the original scrolls didn't have chapters and verses. Other people put chapters and verses. So anyway, also, so the Bible was right all along. The Archimedes, let's see. This one, the Palimpsest from the Archimedes, is the most famous example underneath a prayer book. So they got rid of a prayer book for Archimedes. I don't know about that. But researchers found that the only surviving copy of Archimedes' method of mechanical theorems showed he was using concepts similar to modern calculus 2,000 years before Newton. That's interesting. Or not.
Wow, really? That's super cool, dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, there you
dude, even Mythbusters did a whole thing about Archimedes and like how crazy advanced his stuff was, and they were shocked, dude. They were like, they're
aliens,
actually,
Chris.
they actually were like, this could have been a thing where they were actually, because there's like an ancient report of Archimedes organizing the defense of a town that was under siege from the sea. And that he invented some kind of a lens to basically, like, you know how like when you're a kid you get a magnifying glass and you start setting things on fire with it, and the cruel kids will go find ants and set ants on fire, which I never did, by the way, because I was like, no, that's cruel. Why would you do that?
Right
That's
now.
horrible. Right? Well, yeah. But anyway, so
You're just doing it with atheists.
that's also probably a sign. And Michael, please correct me if I'm wrong. Like, if you're out torturing any sort of animals, that's probably
You might be a psychopath.
psychopathy. Yeah, psychopathy, right? I was
Yeah, he
like,
might be a psychopath. The cool thing, just I heard you talking about Archimedes. One of the things, so a friend of mine is a mechanical engineer. He designs hot water heating systems for homes. Anyway, he was telling me about this thing and something he guess he learned in school.
Displacement of water.
Yeah, this thing called the Archimedes screw, which is like it was like it was something like, I don't know, 100 BC or 200 BC or something like that. Basically to draw water from one place to another, and it was like, so it was the start of what would be circulation pumps, or like sump pumps, things like that. But yeah, like I've heard the same thing, that this guy was um, like brilliant beyond, like just beyond, yeah.
It's because he came here from the pyramid spaceship, guys.
right. Well, but that's the other thing, is that there's this idea that the ancients were really dumb and they didn't know things. You'll hear this all the time about like stuff in the Old Testament, like, well, how did they know about like blah, 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 blah? You know, they didn't know where babies come from. And it's like, dude, they're not idiots. They knew where babies come from. Like, you know, I mean, just all these things. And
The
it's
alien
like,
storks.
yeah, alien storks. But like, you know, the ancients were quite sophisticated in a lot of ways. And the other problem is is that a lot of the stuff that they built was made out of wood. Like, look, we can also talk about that, you know, so it just goes away, or it uses firewood or whatever. A lot of stuff in the ancient world was actually like reused, even if it was of stone or iron. Then you know, they would be like, well, we don't need this crappy screw, you know, that doesn't work because everybody forgot how to use it. So we're just gonna, you know, melt it down and turn it into swords, or, you know, kitchen shears. And so, um, which I don't know when scissors were invented. That's an interesting question. But you know, like, the ancients weren't idiots, and so like this whole contention that because we live in a modern age and we're so smart, like, dude, the ancients had a lot of stuff, and you know, I mean, did you know that in some ancient Greek cities they had actual street lamps? Do you guys know this?
No.
Yeah, yeah, they had, and it wasn't like oil lamps. They were I gotta look it up, but like there was a
Oh,
whole
wait.
scientific study done where they had like basically like crap that glowed, and that they would build little streetlights with this. And there was even ancient batteries that they figured out that you could produce what we now know as electricity, but they could produce things that would make whatever this stuff was. This, I don't remember what the actual substance was. I read about this like 30 years ago, so forgive my memory, but basically, like, they figured out that you could do a base and an alkaline and put them together and create a battery, and then you take some copper and you slap it into this thing, and essentially it'll make something glow really bright. And so they created streetlights with this. And so they had these ancient batteries, and they would just go around like light lamplighters, and they would just put the little plunger down and then a little copper thing, and then start. Yeah, it's like a whole thing. And so like there's all of these ancient discoveries that people are like, holy crap, like that actually worked. Like, we
Sounds like you're
still don't
one or
know.
two steps away from aliens under the pyramids, Chris.
It could be. You know, I read that excellent book, and Michael will be familiar with this academic, by Dr. Daniel Jackson, that lays a lot of stuff out. But yeah, they also had like the Greek fire. Have you guys read about the Greek fire? I'm pretty sure
No.
Michael has. Michael, Greek fire.
Oh, when you said it, it kind of tweaked something, but I'd be lying if I said I remember exactly what it was.
Okay, so in the ancient world, they had this recipe for basically napalm. Okay, that they kept very secret, to the point where they didn't write down the recipe. It was passed on from person to person because they were so crazy about security, because it was such a powerful weapon. But there's actually lots and lots and lots of documents showing the use of Greek fire in warfare, where basically they would take these clay pots filled with this stuff. They'd put a fuse on it to light the fire like a bomb, and they would either hurl it or put it on a catapult and launch it at a ship, and it would set the ocean and the ship on fire. And to this day, they still don't know the exact recipe of Greek fire. And there's like a whole cottage industry of people of engineers trying to figure out what the heck Greek fire even is. Or like the other really interesting thing is, and sorry, I'm nerding out about this, but and Michael, you've been to these places like Rome and stuff like that. There's
I was
places on
just
the
I was just going to talk about that where they had fires like fire pits underneath the buildings to warm them up.
Yes. And then also they had that. And then also they had the concrete that we used volcanic ash. They could pour wet concrete into seawater and it would harden. And they built a lot of their harbors that still stand to this day, 2,000 years later. And this is the highest quality concrete that man has ever created.
Yeah,
Oh,
and actually, it's actually better because typical concrete now only has about a 50 to 70 year lifespan before I have to start reinforcing it and stuff.
I think I found the Archimedes Palimpsest. If anyone's interested, there's a link.
Oh,
It'll be
neat.
in the description.
Yeah, the thing I remember when we went to when we were in Rome for our honeymoon, and we were going around stuff like that, and when we went to some of the buildings, they were doing basically doing like refurbishing of some of these areas because a lot of time had passed, and so there was some degradation, and they talked about basically they built like I guess what would be equivalent of a crawl space for some houses now, like just call it a crawl space. And then what they would do, they had these thick, a lot of times marble, or in some cases these cement floors, and they would build fire pits under them because Rome gets cold, and so they would build these fire pits under them to basically like the first kind of like radiant floor heating. Now they didn't have a way to regulate it. Right, so like they would the best thing they could do would be to have like crude dampers where they would have like blocks because of course fire needs oxygen, right? So they would have these blocks that they could kind of like move out of the way to allow more oxygen in, or they would, and then when they got too hot they would close this kind of like damper thing, basically just moving a big stone slab to cut off the flow of oxygen, and then the fire would die out, but the embers and stuff would stay hot for like super long periods of time. And it was incredibly efficient. Like they could get one of these fires going, and they wouldn't have to replenish it for weeks at a time because it would just keep burning, and the embers would keep going, and everything like that. It's super impressive that this was thousands of years ago. I'm reminded of something that you said about the writing and stuff like that when you would use like when they would erase tablets and stuff like that. When I was talking to Josh Bowen some time ago, and he was when he was in the Middle East, looking at cuneiform tablets, cuneiform, which is the oldest language humans, like the oldest human language there is. And they would have they found what they believed was a schoolhouse, and the reason they believed it was a schoolhouse was because they had these clay tablets, and some of them were like really thick. They were thicker on the top and the bottom, and they were thinner in the middle, because what they were doing is they were teaching kids how to write these cuneiform symbols, and then they'd be like, okay, now erase them, and they would have to grind off part of the stone, these clay tablets, to do the next lesson or the next whatever. And again, these were like, this is a long time ago. See, this idea that humans got smarter really recently is not accurate. We just have access to more stuff now. But when people say something like, oh, people used to be stupid or this, that, and the other thing, they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I do. This stuff is really interesting. I wish this happened earlier, but I have to go now. But yeah, this stuff is interesting. You want to know my big discovery? I was talking to a couple of Sicilians, and they were telling me about the origins of limoncello. Does anyone know this origin story? Or what true limoncello is?
No, but I love limoncello, so please.
You'll love it more now if you find the real stuff. Apparently, authentic limoncello has to. And did you know it was lime? I had no idea. And it tastes just like lemon. I'm like, huh, interesting. So apparently it's lime trees, but true limoncello has to be from the lime trees growing in the ash from Mount Vesuvius. So there you go.
We still have 3 bottles. When we were in Italy, we found a vendor and we bought a case. We bought a case of 12 bottles of it and we shipped it. Of course, we couldn't carry it around with us. So we found a UPS store. We took the case from we were in the Amalfi Coast. And we found a vendor there. And we took the case. We rented a car. We were driving a car through there. So we took the case back to Rome and found a UPS store and shipped it home. It cost at that time it cost like $200 to ship this case because they had to put in all kinds of special packaging and stuff to not break. We still have 3 bottles left.
That's awesome.
And did you buy this just in Italy or during
yeah, we bought it. We bought it when we were touring the Amalfi Coast in Italy.
Okay, so was there an authentic thing? Yes, this is produced from the lime trees of Vesuvius, or I don't know, anything like that. Because
I'll take a picture of the bottle and send it to you.
Because I know Costco sells it, but
I have no idea what it says.
Because I know Costco sells it too. I'm like, well, I'm sure Costco gets it imported, under a private label from somewhere in Italy. But is it really from the ash of the volcano, or is it just from lime trees growing somewhere nearby? I don't know. That was interesting though. But yeah, the Archimedes stuff, the Eureka, which I used to live in a place called Eureka, and because apparently it was a logging community in the 1800s, and when someone found the spot, they're like Eureka as a shout out back to Archimedes. Trivia, Chris, when did Archimedes yell Eureka?
300 BC?
Well, why? What was the reason he did?
Wasn't he taking a bath or something?
He was doing water displacement for a king. The king wanted to know how much gold was in his crown, and it was irregularly shaped, so he didn't know how to measure it, so he threw it in a tub of water and measured it by how much it rose.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Well, that was fun. Yeah, I'm going on this whole deep dive. I don't know why. I just started reading some of Luther, now the Institutes. I'm I kind of like this, that Read Era app. It just does text to speech for anything you put into it, ebook, PDF, anything, documents. So I've been having fun with that. There's 1,000 different voices. So I found one I liked, and now it's essentially free audiobook. So I've been going to Gutenberg and Internet Archive and looking for all these cool off the beaten pathway ancient writings, not stuff that everyone already knows, but stuff that's less known, and it's some cool stuff. I'm stuck around 900 AD and looking at some writings about that and stuff. So anyway, if you're a giant nerd, that's a pretty cool thing to do. So now I'm using it while I'm driving around picking up my kids from school and stuff. They're listening to ancient cattle disputes between warring Celtic sects, and that's where we are now. Next, we're going to learn about Viking feuds discovering Iceland.
Yeah, so I just pulled out one of the bottles. On the bottom, it says limoncello. So it's limon. It's LIMONCELLO. And Italy has a picture carved on the bottle. It's pretty cool. And then on the bottom, it says, apparently this is the stuff when you know it's real. I remember this when we were talking to the guy at the side of the road. We bought it a case on the side of the road. And it says, Il Gusto della Costa. And apparently that's what it has to say in order to be authentic limoncello. Or we totally got scammed 20 years ago.
I was gonna say, or there was some gypsy that grabbed old limoncello bottles and redid it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think so. This was done with super cool corks with the and then wax melted over it. Super cool. So I'm never gonna open the last bottle. I will never open the last bottle. We'll keep that forever.
How many did you say you still have?
We have 3 left.
How far is the Amalfi Coast from Vesuvius?
So from Where is it? So when you're driving through the Amalfi, we actually stayed at a little bit like a bed and breakfast at the side side of a mountain. It's like basically a hotel carved out of the mountain. And when you look across the bay, you could see Vesuvius. It was pretty far. Like I wouldn't want to walk it. But yeah, like Amalfi was
4 hours away. You can see it from there.
Yeah, Vesuvius
Wow.
is huge.
Well,
Yeah, it's gigantic. And you could see it. We could see it from the from our hotel in Naples as well, like Old Napoli. You could see it from there too.
oh, it's
like,
an hour by car. It's 4 hours by bus.
Yeah,
70
the
kilometers. How many
Amalfi-
miles is that?
yeah, 70 kilometers, about maybe 50
40?
miles.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I still wouldn't want to walk it. Like the Amalfi Coast is basically like this little town of Amalfi is like carved out of the side of a mountain, and the roads go like like they zigzag, like they do they go a long ways, and then there's a big hairpin turn. It goes up a little bit, and there's a big hairpin turn. It goes up a little bit more, and you basically have to like zigzag up the side of the mountain, and so the distance you travel is a few miles, right? But the odometer reads 20 miles, right? Because you've had to zigzag back and forth because there's no way you can just go right up the side. But yeah, it's amazing. You should try getting on a plane someday, Nate, and going somewhere.
Well, now I just get murdered by Muslims anywhere I went in Europe. So,
You're not going to get murdered by Muslims in the south of Italy.
but it's also all the same. It's like I could go to New York and see the same things I could see in Europe or Ireland or France. Just destruction
Oh my
and
gosh,
poop in the
that's
streets.
so not true. You're killing me. Just
That-
Just
Nate,
migrants
you're talking
everywhere
about-
and rubber boats.
No, it's not. Okay, so like you're like when you're walking
have to
through
go,
like
guys.
places like Florence or some of these other cities, you're walking through cities that are 4 times older than the country you live in.
You get
Like,
my joke, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
realize
true.
the buildings are older. I get that. Like I could go to Paris and see someone robbing the museums.
So Nate, did you see all the controversy about Amazon pulling the Camp of the Saints?
No. What's the Camp of the Saints?
Oh man, see, this is
I
right up
really
your
have
alley.
to go.
This is-
Hurry.
This is why you should ask me about what conspiracy crap that I've read about this week.
Whoa.
Should
What
always
conspiracy
start.
crap have you read about this week?
Well, so so there's this book written by a Frenchman in 1973 called The Camp of the Saints, which is a reference to Revelation 19.
Okay.
And he's a Marxist scumbag, but his whole thing was he was getting on the elite of France, of which he was a member, about them just allowing mass migration. This is 1973 he wrote this. Okay. And so he writes this whole fictional thing about like this million boat, migrants, come to France. And the French elite, their response is not only to let them in, but any Frenchmen that are fighting against the horde of the migrants coming in and, dismantling the Louvre or burning parts of Paris, the French actually bomb their own countrymen for being racist. And so it's like the whole thing is just a condemnation of the elite attitudes toward mass migration in 1973. And of course, now it's been labeled a racist, white supremacist group, thing and whatever. But in the 70s, it was like Francois Mitterrand, who used to be the, and I know I'm saying that wrong, Michael, who used to be the prime minister of France or president of France, one of the two, whoever the guy in power is with their system. I think it's prime minister. He was on TV discussing this book because it had made a big wave amongst the elites in France at the time in the early 70s. And but now Amazon just pulled it as essentially like Nazi propaganda.
Oh, well, now we have to go read it. Can you
Well,
text me the
I-
name? Because
no. Well, no,
Huh?
apparently it's really hard to come by, and like now copies are going for like $200 a piece.
And this is not
So,
public
like-
domain, because did you say it was written in the 70s?
It was written in 1973, so it's not public domain. There may be an illegal PDF floating around out there, and
The official
people
position
have
of
said
Ask a
it's
Christian
basically
podcast
a
is don't illegally
mid.
read stuff.
Yes, people have said it's basically a mid book. It's not that great, but there's some biting. As the French do, they've got some very acerbic comments about the elite in there that people really like, but apparently all the wrong people started reading this book, and now Amazon has quite publicly banned this book.
Well, also, something that is in the public domain, another person had some ideas along those lines about immigration being the destruction of civilization. That is public domain, and it was around 1925, I believe. Baby bathwater.
Yeah. I mean, look,
but it's crazy.
Said,
it's like people have warned us throughout history. That guy, this other guy, plenty of other guys have warned us, and it's true. Like, unchecked immigration is destroying the world.
Oh, the Western world. They're having a great time.
Like I said, the world.
Yeah, exactly. But even Michael has talked about this. Unchecked letting a bunch of 7th century savages come to your country and start to make it Muslim, make Canada Muslim, or make the UK Muslim, or the furthest one along apparently is either France or Germany. And is it France? Yeah. So France is actually my favorite Muslim country at this point.
Well, it's still not Muslim majority, but it's projected to be that way in about 15 years.
And they'll control the nukes. Whee!
But no, it's interesting. And so when you talk about unchecked migration, it was only recently we had one of our recent podcast guests was talking about how she wanted to leave the U.S. her and her husband. But I'm like, oh, come to Canada, and she's like, we tried. It's really hard. And I had no idea. I'm fortunate enough to have been born here. But apparently Canada's really hard to
Most of the rest
to.
of the world is very hard.
Right. If you're a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, it's probably nigh impossible. If you're a 7th century Muslim invader, they're all like, oh, please come in. We don't have enough beheadings in Canada. We need you.
No, it's actually funny. So the people I was talking about are both not white.
Well, then Canada's racist. They need to sue them.
Yeah, no, it's just it's apparently there's, and I didn't know this. I had to go look it up on our website, government, GC, Canada.gc. There's a points system basically. I don't know if it's the same way for the U.S.
Guys, I apologize. I really have to go. You keep talking. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I really have to run. Take care, guys.
There's a points system.
All right, everyone. 2 hours, over 2 hours. All right, I gotta peace out. All right, like, share, subscribe. That was some fun stuff. I hate to leave. That was fun. No one was arguing. That was great. All right, maybe we can pick this up tomorrow. So like, share, subscribe. Check out askachristianpodcast.com for more. askachristianpodcast.com for more.